I'm having to record this from Caroline Poynton in Bury, Manchester. I just wonder where the King still is. He's not been out yet. King Charles, where are you? Why doesn't he want to talk? Not want to talk.
We witnessed in Nigeria what really is a genocide.
Yeah, and they're coming after the Christians next.
Welcome back to the channel. Of course, we are the day after, of course, the horrific terror attack that occurred in Manchester.
King Charles has had to change his religion.
Innocent Jewish worshippers.
Why he was worshipping the Muslim community, instead of the Jewish and the Christian community.
Now, in the fallout, we've seen a lot from Shabbat.
Yeah, Shema Martin, put everybody in a family. Yeah.
Protests.
Where's Sadiq Khan and the rest of them?
And we've been getting a lot of reaction from across the political
She's been thrown
sphere
right under
with regard to this terror attack. However, something caught my attention, and actually on live national television, an individual has come on, and what many are saying has told the truth about Islam. He went on to say that once they've dealt with the Jews, their next target is the Christians, and talked about the genocide, what really is a genocide, in Nigeria. His words, not mine. Let's have a watch of this footage, and we can make an assumption.
Now, where's King Charles?
As always, please do hit the like button.
He's not changed his religion into being a Muslim.
A vile individual committed a terrorist attack that attacked Jews because they are Jews.
Yeah.
An attack
Christians, because we are Christians.
And while this is not...
Yeah, and you allowed them here.
This is something Jews have always...
Yeah, because you've always allowed them here.
It is a hatred that is rising.
Well, with King Charles, that's why.
And Britain must defeat it once again.
Yeah, defeat it. We won't be defeating it once again with you, mate.
Is it an attack on Britain?
Or King Charles.
Yes, it is.
Where is he?
The Jews are simply
King
the first.
Charles.
After they've got the Saturday people, they will go for the Sunday people. That's an old expression.
King
And these,
Charles.
particularly militant Islamists, Islamic fundamentalists,
Yeah, King
their next target is the
Charles.
Christian community. We witnessed in Nigeria what really is a genocide with fundamentalist Islamists murdering Christians. And that is what will happen in future.
That's why he can't
once
be
they
a
feel they
Christian,
have dealt with
King
the Jews. They're going to turn
Charles.
their
He's not a
attention to the
Christian,
Christians
he's a
next.
Muslim.
First the Saturday people,
Can't be a
then the Sunday
Christian
people.
and kill Jews and Christians, can he?
Gary, you can see it across your face. It's completely understandable, the emotion that you're flooded with this evening. And can you just describe that to me? Is it a combination of just sadness, but also just anger and frustration?
Yep, where's the King?
You've summed it up exactly. It's tremendous frustration with government that we have seen a government that's allowed
with King
to do
Charles,
nothing, essentially.
Tony
His
Blair.
words are all very well, but what action has he taken? What action has the government ministers taken?
Zero.
That is why there's so much disappointment.
Because of King Charles.
Some very, very powerful words from this individual, and to be fair, probably won't be seen again on national television.
Won't see him again now, he's just told the truth.
After those comments. But he does make some serious points. We are seeing, of course, the
Has he allowed him to say anything like that?
run rife within the United Kingdom. It's normalised.
Why? Because of King Charles. Where's King Charles? AI, Google AI, Yahoo, whatever. Fucking all these fucking search sites and chat boxes. Trying to say there's no evidence of King Charles converting into being a Muslim. Yeah, because he's a fucking traitor, he's treasoned and he's in the Bible. So they would hide that, wouldn't they?
And the far left terrorists.
Yeah, far left terrorists called Labour.
Pushing this hatred and allowing this to run right. I do certainly believe that the government and have allowed something to happen.
Not the government, the Labour terrorists
came out and said, well, the only person responsible is the attacker himself. Yes, was true.
Yeah.
He was the one that carried out those horrific attacks.
Oh, but when you do Tommy Waffles, all that what?
And this martyrism, this hatred towards Jewish people on the streets on a week-to-week basis within the United Kingdom, with the UK.
It's only one person that created that. But when it's to do with Tommy Robinson, it's that a lot.
Whatsoever, and actually rewarding their efforts. Parading and shouting about it. By
rewarding them. King Charles rewarded it down.
In fact, actually,
with an knighthood, don't forget.
Victory in this war. Do let me know your thoughts on that down there in the
Rewarded,
comment
he
section below.
what
In
rewarded.
other news, Nigel Farage has hit back at Prime Minister Keir Starmer after he blamed Brexit for Farage boats crossing the Channel. Speaking to the media, the Reform UK leader said, once again, the Prime Minister is inverting the truth. He's gaslighting the British public and attempting to blame everything on me. Following his speech, in which the Prime Minister accused Reform UK of being the enemy of national renewal, Sir Keir told the People's Channel, I would gently point out to Nigel Farage and others that before we left the EU, we had a returns agreement with every country in the EU, and he told the country it would make no difference if we left. He was wrong about that. These are Farage boats coming across the Channel. Nigel responded on his show this evening sarcastically saying, I am the devil, the Farage boat. He added, I warned the entire British political establishment in 2020, Prime Minister, that we had a major problem coming down the track. I also asked the mainstream media why they're not covering this. I predicted that it would lead to an invasion. Of course, I was absolutely demonized for daring to say the words, but 180,000 people later, perhaps I was right. What the Prime Minister is talking about is the EU-wide Dublin Convention. This was the means by which he argues, as EU members, we could send people back well in that very year of 2020. We took more in from the European Union under this programme than we sent back. Is the Prime Minister being deliberately dishonest? The UK's final few years of participation in the Dublin Convention would indicate that Britain was a net recipient of asylum seekers. Home Office data revealed that 676 asylum seekers were transferred from Britain in 2016 and 2017, while 1,019 illegal migrants were transferred to the UK over the same period. The problem worsened in 2018 when only 209 out of 5,500 requests for asylum seekers to be returned were completed, while the UK accepted 1,215 migrants. The figure comes in stark contrast to the 131 who were transferred into the UK in 2015, when 510 asylum seekers had been transferred out. Since Labour's conference kicked off on Sunday, a staggering 1,368 illegal migrants have landed on Britain's shores. Speaking today, the Prime Minister suggested he could overhaul how courts apply human rights laws in migrant cases involving torture. He said ministers should look at issues with Article 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights, the clause frequently used by DE arrivals to block deportation. Migrants have repeatedly used the treaty to argue they can't be sent home because prisons in their countries don't meet UK standards. But Sir Keir Starmer told BBC Radio 4 there's a clear distinction between someone being deported to summary execution and someone facing poorer healthcare or different prison conditions. The clash between Keir Starmer and Nigel Farage highlights just how deeply Brexit and immigration continue to divide British politics. Starmer has sought to tie the ongoing crisis in the Channel directly to Brexit, arguing that leaving the EU stripped the UK of effective return agreements, while Farage has fired back, accusing the Prime Minister of gaslighting the public and rewriting history. He insists he warned the political establishment years ago of the scale of the problem and argues that the EU's Dublin Convention was never as effective as Labour now claims. The row comes as Channel crossings surge once again, with more than 1,300 arrivals coinciding with Labour's annual conference. In response, Starmer has floated the idea of reforming how human rights protections are applied in deportation cases, signalling that the government could seek to redraw the balance between international obligations and domestic border enforcement. For Farage, this is further evidence of establishment failure, while for Labour, it is about reclaiming credibility on an issue that has long dogged the party. What is clear is that the debate is far from settled. With both leaders doubling down on their positions, Britain's immigration crisis has once again become the defining political battleground, one that will shape not only the future of migration policy, but also the broader narrative of Brexit's legacy. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.
today, my very first question
Oh,
has to
lucky
be
it does.
about these pro-Palestine marches. There are a number of people who
Right,
have long
people are
called
going to
for
come
them
through
to stop
people's doors, like I've
happening.
been saying,
It seems to me the
eventually.
Met Police have voiced their concerns and are saying that we would rather these do not take place. The Home Secretary, this morning, speaking on the BBC Today programme, seems to not understand that the Met Police were concerned about these pro-Palestine marches and certainly did not say anything about stopping them. There's been a deafening silence from Sadiq Khan as well. Is
Sadiq
it
Khan, deafening silence, the king, deafening silence. Why?
A huge support for freedom of speech and freedom to assemble, that we look at these
Sam,
marches as propaganda exercises for terrorism.
Yep.
Yes, we do need to look at this, and I think the Home Secretary does understand the scale of the problem here, and I welcome the fact that she said this morning that she shouldn't go ahead. But the fact that at the moment politicians are pleading with organisers who frankly seem to have no interest in doing the right thing shows that
And she was an organiser, don't forget, and then moved to be in the government. She was in that organisation.
Is to look at the review which is sitting on
Don't
their
be
desk,
stupid,
which I
mate,
published and delivered to them more than a year ago now, and they need to change the public
They've got some fuck
to
off.
give the police and the Home Secretary the power to say
It was
no
delivered
to
a year ago and
marches
they've still
when
not
they
done
are
nothing about
clearly
anything.
causing cumulative damage
Yeah,
to communities like the Jewish community in Manchester and London, who are going to be living in fear at this weekend.
And
At
English.
the moment,
And the
law
Christians,
is such
and me,
that the police can
and
only
me.
recommend the power to stop a march if there is a threat of serious public disorder,
She's
effectively a riot. Now, I mean, I think on a
Gone
lay
off it, I've not
person's
seen her for a bit,
interpretation,
Alex. But...
you could make an assessment that that even that high threshold might be met at this weekend. But I understand why that needs to be a proper thought out thing. But it shouldn't take that. There should be the power for people to say, look, you know what? You've had so many of these marches. The Jewish community are hurting. The police resources are needed to protect Jews this weekend. You can't have your march.
Yeah.
Let's have a little look actually at what happened
And she
in
said it.
Trafalgar Square
Neither has the
last night.
king. Neither has Sadiq Khan. Why? Because they're all involved. Look at the state of that. And King Charles and all of them are coming out condemning it. No, because that means they're all involved.
That very sounds to me looks like some sort of carnival of potential would-be terrorists. Now my worry is not only about whether these things tip over into violence, but whether they also work as a recruitment drive for would-be radicals.
Yeah.
Sure,
And that's why they won't stop it, so they can keep radicalising people. There we are.
So, you know,
then they can pretend it ain't to do with them.
The police can look at
like
this
King Charles, they can be saying, no, it's nothing to do with King
Charles.
Charles.
On those grounds alone. I understand
it was all just Tony Blair.
These decisions can rub up against
freedom
of speech,
under the bus.
and I think there can be a danger if you take too heavy-handed an approach that actually you end up with the kind of radicalising effect that we all want to avoid. But this seems pretty clear-cut and common
no
sense.
buttons, no fuck off, the
Jewish
police.
people in major cities across the country
no police
have
horses,
lived
no nothing.
in fear, particularly since the
well, when you've got the Patriots marching nicely, get all the buttons, the fucking dogs, the fucking, you know, the shields, right shields, right stuff. But no right stuff for the police in that one.
And not indulging this in having to have their many hours of police time
a liar, traitor to the Jews and the Christians. I don't know, he can marry a fucking Jew and he's a fucking traitor.
Of Palestine and Gaza.
The problem I see as well is when you see how rabid some of these protesters are. You've made very important comments on especially legacy media's approach to what is going on in Gaza. Almost, I would say, turning it into a cause célèbre. The
fetishisation from the terrorist organisation King Charles.
Which, frankly speaking,
Get King
is
Charles
very much
out.
taking place on religious ideological grounds. They're
It's
ignoring
in the
what's going
Bible,
on
yeah.
in Somalia, Sudan,
Yeah,
other
yeah,
parts of the world.
yeah.
They're ignoring
What's going on in
the slaughter of
Ukraine.
Christians in northern Nigeria. But for some reason, many
It's all about
people
Palestine.
in legacy media seem to be obsessing over Gaza.
Yeah.
Seem to be obsessing over whether or not Israel is committing a genocide, without
Yeah.
looking at genocides that are actually taking place, and that this too is feeding into the narrative. It's
Yeah.
not just people going on to Reddit and the dark web, linking up
King
with Hamas
Charles
operatives
caused it
and go,
all
wow,
because he
yeah,
went
I
to
want to go
Palestine
out
to get
join
his religion
the
changed.
pro-Palestine cause now. They could get that information, quite frankly, if they just tune into the BBC.
There is something that is going deeply wrong in the
Yeah.
UK and the West, and yes, I think that
And that's why they're hiding
much
and not
of
coming
the
out.
mainstream media
And condemning
is,
it 'cause they know they're
is
involved in
guilty
it.
of
They're as guilty.
fanning the flames
They're
of
as guilty as the
obsession
person that
about
fucking stabbed the
Israel,
people.
but they are reflecting the obsessive
King Charles is
focus
a
of the
murderer
international community,
to
where
the
I think
Jewish
the United
community.
Nations has been pretty seriously
Shame on him. Get
corrupted
out.
by a virulent
Corrupted by King
anti-Israel
Charles.
strain,
Get out,
to the
King
point that
Charles.
it's really
Out.
very hard, near
Take
impossible
Starmer
to get
and the
on
rest
within
of
the
the gang,
UN
the
unless
rest of
you
the
are
terrorist
showing your
organisation with you.
anti-Israel colours, and that has affected the UK Parliament,
Yeah.
where the number of questions and
Yeah, the number of
debates
rulings
that are
and
focused
questions
on
and debates
Israel
about this and
far
that.
outstrips any other
Blasphemy laws,
any
this,
other
that,
conflict.
fuck
Now, what
off
is
with all of
happening in
it.
Gaza is deeply serious. It's alarming. It does deserve our attention, but this is an obsessive level of focus, and
Yeah,
it is
why are you
so
obsessed
often
with it?
channeled to
King
the
Charles, the
idea
government.
that Israel
Shema
is inherently evil, uniquely evil, and there
Yep,
is just
King Charles is an
something
evil
wrong about the
bastard.
people in
He's
charge
a
of that. And
fucking
there's
goffer.
also something wrong
German
with
fucking
those,
twat.
those Jews in other countries
Hitler.
who are supportive of the
They
idea
are
of the
Hitler.
state of
Take
Israel.
all
So it
the
has
women.
directly bled
They're the ones that want to kill the
into
Jews. They
into
killed
the
the Jews.
anti-Semitism that is
So
infecting
who's Hitler
our
now?
country,
They are.
and we have all got a responsibility to push back against it now.
What staggers me is...
And this is because of the digital
It's the
ID.
Green Party's conference right now, in conference season.
Shut up,
Now,
digital ID.
they have a
Look at it, look.
deputy leader who goes
Why
by
they
the name
put
of
that one in the
Poynton.
narrative?
And he has, in times past, branded a Leeds rabbi,
Because nothing's happened for
as
it
a
on the
priest,
news,
a
they'll have to
lowlife
make
and
some
an animal,
news.
after the October the 7th attacks in a
Yeah.
video he has
We don't go past
subsequently
October the
deleted.
7th, yeah.
That rabbi was
No.
forced into hiding with his family. He put an image of himself and Bob Dylan as his
Yeah.
Facebook profile picture
Yeah.
after Glastonbury. His
He's not
response
been in
to
prison,
the October
nothing.
the 7th massacre was white supremacist European settler
Oh.
colonialism must end. He's the deputy leader of a political party in this country. Now, they might not have many MPs. They've got enough of a following for me to be worried about. This man's about to turn up on a stage holding a microphone. I think he should be dragged down to police cells and questioned. What's going on there?
Well, I heard Zach Polanski responding, the leader of the Green Party, who is Jewish, and so he talks about his growing up in Manchester, and he responded to the attacks yesterday, and it was what he said was moving. I have no doubt that it was heartfelt, but there is a question to him and other leaders within the Green Party as to why they are tolerating anti-Semitism, which was essentially drummed out of my old party, the Labour Party, when Corbyn went, largely drummed out. There are still some problems remaining, but much of it was transferred wholesale to the Green Party, and you can see the narrow electoral calculation. If the Greens want to be a dominant force, the dominant force on that kind of alternative left wing within this country, then at the moment, or for a long time, it has come with a badge of identity that has to be fully anti-Israel, and they don't want to dispute that. But the moral compromise that they are making by turning a blind eye or accepting some of the virulent anti-Semitism within their party is not acceptable. And the challenge to Mr. Polanski now is that if he is genuine about this, he will root out that from within his party.
He should sack that deputy leader, surely. Muhsin Ali, after putting such posts up, should have faced the forces of the law, in my opinion. It staggers me that these things aren't taking place.
Because the King Charles and the
as the former
government,
UK
that's what
government
it is.
advisor on extremism, how perilous is our national situation today?
I do feel that we are in a genuinely perilous situation in the UK. The sense of threat and intimidation to particular communities, the intimidation faced by our members of parliament affects not only them but the whole of the democratic process. Jews are living in fear this weekend. The vast majority of them were deeply saddened by the tragedy. The vast majority of them were not surprised because they've seen the rising threat level, and they fear the return to the dark days that we thought as a civilized country and as a civilization in the West we had left behind us. And so this is a moment for our leaders to show a level of moral clarity that has often been lacking in recent years, to call out the threat from Islamist violence, from those who want to live in our country but do not want to abide by the rules and the decency that we have built up over many centuries. There has to be change from that is driven from the top within our country. Otherwise, people are going to remain more and more at risk, and the level of discontent within our communities is going to grow.
Yeah, I do fear that we've reached the 11th hour, and unfortunately all we're getting is the sort of normal vacuous platitudes from our political leaders. Lord Walney, thank you ever so much for being on the programme.
None of them wonder why. King Charles, not part of it.
As I'm just emerging from my man flu for the week, do you know what's insane? It's really insane to see all the people who shut down any criticism of Islam. They literally beat everyone with their accusations of racist, extremist, far-right, fascist.
King Charles, all
they
of them.
literally
King
shut
Charles, not one of
down
them.
any criticism of the ideology that has inspired the attack on a synagogue yesterday. And now they're all screaming about it. It's like, hold on a minute. You lot are the reason that ideology has been able to grow so powerful in
And
our
that's
country.
why King Charles had come out and condemned it. That's why Civic Khan's not come and done it.
You politicians, you journalists, you commentators, every one of you.
All of them.
You made it impossible to have a discussion about that idea, that mindset, that terrorist group, any of it. You made it impossible. And now you have the police. You literally have Muslims walking down the street calling for the beheading of Jews. And the police, you nicked me. You nicked me 2 months ago. You questioned me, and under caution, you arrested me
for nothing,
for a
mate.
fuck Hamas tweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're letting Muslims walk down the street calling for the beheading of Jews.
And look what happened.
And then you're all surprised. We're going to step up patrols around mosques, around
Bullshit.
synagogues. We're going to step up patrols. How about you don't step up patrols? How about you dealt with this for the last decade? How about every time someone calls for jihad on our streets, you nick them? How about when they fly a jihadi flag or a terrorist symbol, you arrest them?
Yeah. How about King Charles? Fucked off.
Calling for the murder of Jews for the last
Get 6
year,
foot under.
quite openly in mosques across our country.
Yeah.
How about you prosecuted them?
Yep, how about you knock down the mosque?
Transgenderism. Someone who's not a risk. Someone who's not a danger.
Yeah.
How about you actually just dealt with the problem? The problem has got so big, so bad now. You can't deal with it. You're scared to deal with it because there's so many of them. And then the same people that have facilitated the Dan Hodges of this world, the journalists of this world,
the
who have shut down
BBC,
Brendan
Gang
Cox, you
TV, the
womaniser.
King,
Keep your hands to yourself,
BBC is the
Brendan.
King.
People like Brendan Cox, who absolutely, diversity is our
Strength.
You're a
Fucking
fascist, you're an
silly
extremist, you're a
bastard
racist.
down.
Diversity is our power.
King Charles, diversity is your strength.
And Muslims, the same Muslims that are now calling for the total destruction of every Jew in the world. Where are your mates now? Board of Deputies, where are your friends that you stood with against us?
Yeah.
For the last 15 years, you stood with the enemy against us. And we called out that enemy. And we've been proven right about that enemy time and time again. You have betrayed your own community,
King
your
Charles
own people. The
is the
reason
biggest
why Jews
betrayed
are
of all.
vulnerable is because of you.
It's in the Bible.
Your failures,
because of him.
your weakness, your cowardice, not us. We've been the same since day one. You tried to turn the Jewish community against us. You've tried to turn everyone against us. We were the only sane voice the whole way through all of this. Was us. And we still stand there now against all your smears, against all your attacks, against all your prosecutions. Whilst at the same time, while they try and imprison us and beat us, you still use your platforms to try and trigger us, to try and beat us, whilst amplifying so-called moderates who are walking along from the river to the sea.
Yep.
You clowns. Know your enemy. Identify your enemy. Tell the truth.
King Charles is the enemy.
Don't make excuses for them.
Of what?
Don't shut down debate.
Of what? King Charles is the main enemy of all. Hitler.
Probably because I ain't had my breakfast. But I get so wound up as I look at all these commentators, all these politicians putting out there, oh, we stand with the Jewish community.
Fuck off.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
No,
yeah.
you don't. Not at all.
Fucking lying
you
bastards.
are the reason.
King Charles, where's he standing for the Jewish community? He's not been out and said anything.
Recognising the state of Israel. So you recognise, you give authority to the Palestinian Authority. Yeah? You recognise the leader of the Palestinian Authority. The Palestinian Authority pay Muslims to go and commit attacks against Jews.
Yeah. King Charles pays them.
State.
There you go.
What, 10 miles from Tel Aviv?
And then they call us Hitler. Hitler was the one that wanted to kill the Jews, innit?
And then you sit there and say, yeah, we stand with the Jewish community. We're against all this. No, you've emboldened them. You've empowered them. You cowards.
Yep. King Charles is a coward.
So everyone in Britain, stay safe because the country's full of jihadists and scumbags.
Yep. Thank you, Summer Robson. Thanks for the truth. Thanks from Caroline Poynton. Acknowledging about King Charles. Nobody else seems to be acknowledging King Charles. King fucking Charles.